Leadbetter with Kristine is brought to you in part by Gowling WLG.
A law firm can do more than simply provide legal services. It can help support a community and its clients by bringing them together.
Hi everyone, thanks for tuning in. In this episode, we're going to talk about managing change. It's something all of us can relate to. We have a lot of experience with it, both personally and in the workplace. So break this down for us and to go through how to navigate change effectively, I brought in a special guest, Dr. Teal McAteer, a beloved professor at the DeGroote School of Business at McMaster University and a professional leadership development coach. Teal, thanks so much for being here with me.
Great to be here.
So let's kick it off. Change. What kinds of change are there?
Two main categories, voluntary and involuntary. I think some people think of it as it happens to you. Probably the toughest change, though, is you deciding to make the change yourself. So a lot of my coaching has to do with helping people to voluntarily make some moves in their life. And it's tougher than when it happens to you.
That's really interesting because I would think, having something happen to you out of your control, unexpected, would actually be more challenging to deal with. But you're saying when you actively make a change, that's the harder thing to navigate.
Humans stay with what's comfortable, even if it's toxic, even if it's unhealthy for you, it's the pattern you know. So to actually have the guts to kick your own butt and ignite the change in your life, whether it's personal or professional, is a huge deal. It takes bravery, a lot of courage.
Interesting. So why is change so hard for people?
Well, as I say, it's breaking that pattern. It's deciding that something is wrong enough in your life. A lot of whether it's my students or whether it's my clients, they'll say, well, when will I make the change? And I have a response very clear, and that is when you're in a lot of pain. So I'll often say, when does the human make the change? When the pain of the present is greater than the pain of the unknown. And if you're not in enough pain or you're not hangry enough, I think we will continue to be just as we always are.
And I love that. I know you and I have talked a lot about, that moment of recognizing when you need to make change.
Yeah.
What are some of the symptoms that we experience?
Yeah, good question. I would say I see three categories when people are either right on the cusp of having to make that change because of the pain, and then walking through it. We experience physiological, psychological, and behavioral symptoms, and it can be any or all, and different severity levels. So the physiological, I have actually seen people as they approach change and go through change have major organ issues, whether it's heart palpitations or whether it's liver or kidney. Psychological, the constant worry and anxiety, I need to make a change, why haven't I? This relationship is toxic, the job doesn't fit me.
Yeah.
And of course behavioral, when we're either approaching that change issue or we're in it, I've seen increased drinking, increased drug use, increased risky behavior. So massive symptoms right at the cusp of I gotta do something and right during making that change.
And I mean, I've been there myself before, and I'm sure many of you out there as well, where you're feeling this feeling like something's off, you're out of alignment, you're having some adverse reactions to a situation. Maybe it's at work and you just don't feel good every day, or you're dealing with those symptoms and something's telling you, I need to make a change. So, but interesting about that, you already alluded to this, but most people attempt to make a change, but they have difficulty following through. And I think the statistic is something like 80% of people.
Correct.
I wonder if it's more if I think about, gym routines and I want to eat healthy, and how many people turn back and don't stick with those habits.
They hit the wall. 80%, we're walking, we're trying, and they hit the wall and they go backwards to the old way of being, to the old way of doing the job.
And why do we do that? Like, why can't we get, and I'm guilty of this myself, but why can't we continue, like, we know it's the right thing to do for us, we know we will likely be better off, or maybe we don't know that. Why do we turn back?
I alluded to it earlier, it is the familiarity with the pattern, even if it is toxic or even if it is wrong. I actually believe there isn't a big enough dog biscuit. There's not a big enough reward or reason. We've heard the expression, the burning platform has to be under our feet. I've already said there has to be enough hangriness. I think we turn back because the other side we just don't think is worth it, or we just can't get there. It's just not a big enough reward. The human will not change unless their back is against the wall and they have to.
So you think the resistor is potentially, is it laziness? Is it discomfort?
Change, resistance to change, a lack of resiliency, a lack of hardiness. A resistance to change we are supposed to, as humans, when things hit us, our natural reaction is to go, don't want to do it. So resistance is normal. We reach burnout when we stay in a resistance mode too long.
Okay.
So when you continue to be in that, I call that rocky imbalance between the two islands, letting go of the old island and moving towards the new island, when you're in that rocky middle, that's the key where you just got to keep going to the other side. You know, one of my favorite books, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway.
Yeah, it's a great book.
You get in there and you just keep going to the other side with the faith that it is going to be better. But humans believe we're losing something. Yeah, we are losing something, but it's sometimes the loss is the negative stuff, yet we still hang on. So you got to see that island to the other side.
It is crazy. We do sort of go back to what our comfort is, what we know. We'd rather deal with the garbage, that we are aware of, than go into a different area where we're not sure what we're going to face.
But again, that pain, right? Think of the dating situation or being with somebody. I've heard it many times. I've been with somebody 3 years. I can't stand them. I want to leave it, but I can't. And then when they finally do, I'll say, what is it you're seeing? And they'll say, I have no idea what's ahead of me, but it looks a heck of a lot better than you.
Yeah.
So you've got to be in that stage where this is better. This is the reward on the other side.
Even the unknown.
Even the unknown looks better.
And some of your research talks about identifying the desired state.
Yes.
So how that helps you navigate change.
Huge. So I use what's called the thermostat analogy, almost a 4-stage. When you wake up in the morning, it's cold, you go over to the thermostat, and what do you measure? You look at the current state. So in making change and effective change, we have to always, I say to my clients, would you please slow down to speed up? Which means, where are you right now and what's going on? Get a good read of that. Step 2 is, what's the desired state? What is it that's the burning platform for you?
Right.
Measure the magnitude of the gap. How big is the gap? Oh my gosh, I got 10 steps I got to do to get there.
Yeah.
Close the gap, measure the change, and start again. You need to, in order for change to be successful and for you to climb in there and do it, you have got to make it scientific. You've got to measure where you're at now, look at very carefully what it would look like. What will life look like?
Yeah.
What will my physiological, psychological, and behavioral symptoms be in terms of change when I'm over there? And then see the distance between today and 6 months from now where I need to be, and break it down into baby steps. And then walk through the baby steps and then measure where you're at.
And it's truly making that like really your desired state.
Huge.
So we've got about a minute left. So navigating those steps, how do people do that? I know you do a lot of coaching. You've coached me, and I'm so grateful for it. What are some bits of advice that you can share that you do in your coaching to help people get through that middle part?
Right. So I mentioned the one, which is really turn it into a science and break it down into baby steps. Be very, very clear of that current state and that desired state. I always have. Everybody that I work with, myself included, I think I had you do it too, was to take the time to give the gift to yourself, to take the time and write a vision statement of you as a leader in life. And when I use the word leader, I don't mean necessarily C-suite executive. We are all leaders in life as mothers, fathers, daughters, sons, sisters, people. Every action that we take in our life, write a vision of self in the future, of how you hope to be behaving, the impact you intend to make, the values you wish to exude, and write it down in three lines or less. Post it on your mirror, post it wherever you want to post it, and make that the dream of where you're going to go forward. Then break that down into little steps. And number 3, so vision, steps, number 3 is have a buddy.
Yeah,
have a coach, a mentor, a buddy who's going to help you with accountability and responsibility to keep you on track. Have the dog biscuits as well as the people.
Oh, this is so great. So we're going to take a break right now, and we'll be right back, joined by a couple other panelists. Thanks, Teal.
Hello, Hamilton. It's that time again. Get up, get off the couch, and tackle your own to-do list. Bob's back this summer, every Tuesday, live at 7 p.m. with an interactive show, new concept from an old face. Bob's ready to take your calls, take your emails, and even take your tweets during the live program, so get your questions ready. Again, every Tuesday throughout the summer, only on Cable 14 and cable14now.com.
What is that? It's a rape whistle.
The Canadian Women's Foundation, moving women and girls out of abuse and poverty and into confidence.
Hi, I'm Laura Babcock, host of The O Show here on Cable 14. And during this pandemic, while we're all staying home, staying safe, and practicing social distancing, we're still going to talk to the Hamiltonians who are making news. We'll keep having those same great discussions on important topics that matter to you. The only difference is the platform that we're shooting it on. So please stay tuned, stay engaged.
Get your groove on. Join the Matt Kids Walk and Wheel Mascot Dance Challenge, a virtual dance party fundraiser for McMaster Children's Hospital Foundation. Have we got a challenge for you? Between Mother's Day and Father's Day, share your new dance party video on social media, make a donation, and challenge your friends to help us raise $200,000. Support patient care today. Bust a move and start fundraising at mattkids.ca/walkandwheel.
Welcome back. We're joined by two more female professionals from the community. Sarah Wright, who's a social worker for a social services organization, and we're here with Andrea, who is from Twitter Canada as a sales leader. So thanks so much, both of you, for being here with me today, and with Teal again, of course. So we're going to continue the conversation on change, and I thought we'd start off with discussing a brief situation at work, something that we've all maybe experienced. Maybe something that we've done voluntarily. So Sarah, kicking off with you.
Yeah, so as somebody who struggles with anxiety, change can be really scary and often overwhelming, whether it's voluntary or involuntary. So voluntary change that I've experienced is, which actually led to a positive outcome, is deciding to change roles at my organization that I was working at.
Yeah, okay, that's definitely something we can all relate to. I've definitely done that a few times, and I know how scary that is. So how did you know it was time to make a change?
I think just experiencing some of the, physiological things and some of the emotions and feelings I was having. I was feeling really burnt out. I was, thinking about work when I wasn't at work.
Yep.
I was waking up every day not having that same sort of enthusiasm and passion that I had, when I first started. Yep. Sunday nights seemed a little bit more agonizing than normal. But I think just sort of, as someone who's really in tune with my emotions and my feelings, just really taking notice of those things, that's sort of what led me to discover that, it's time that I need a change. So I did reach out to, some of the supports and resources that I have in my life, and my supervisor, some of my work mentors, some of my personal and professional social supports, and was able to discover that, it was time for me to make a change. And I realized that it wasn't the organization I was working at or the field I was working in, but actually the role that I was doing was not sort of in line with, my goals and my values and my beliefs. And I was able to actually find a role within the agency that was more in line with those things. And so decided to make a change, and I can happily say that I'm still in that position and feel that passion again. So
no, that's so great. And I love that point too, because it kind of goes off of Teal and I, how we ended before the break, was you knew you need to make a change, but you didn't know that desired state yet. So you had to do that introspection to figure it out, and you went through like your golden circle, your mentors, other folks to help you figure out where the best fit was.
And that she was mindful of it. Excuse me, because I think a lot of people are mindless. They recognize the symptoms, but they don't do anything about it. Or they just think, well, this may be some sort of reality. But you took it mindfully and said, no, this is not right. There's something that's not right. So.
Yeah, I mean, I've gone through that change recently, so I've definitely been in your shoes, and I know we've talked about this as well. And it's really hard to change jobs. And for me, it was an industry change, which was pretty big to me, and totally a fresh start, which is always really exciting. But I remember thinking, I just couldn't imagine the first day walking into a different building, in a different area, working with completely different people in a different industry. The learning curve was immense, and it was very scary. But like you, I'm happily in that position now and really loving it. But it was very scary to leave what I was so comfortable with. I mean, I've been my former employer for over 10 years. So, and there's a lot of people that I really enjoyed there as well. But it's definitely hard to change your job.
You felt the fear.
Oh yeah, I definitely felt the fear. And but you know, and I also had some symptoms that were helping me get to that change. It wasn't, I think it was I got the kick in the butt that I needed because I was being a little bit hesitant to make a change, and I knew it was time, and I'd outgrown my role and it was time for a new challenge. But I was fearful to leave what I knew. I was very comfortable, and
it's interesting too, because the more you disrupt, the more you will disrupt.
Yes, that's
so
true.
So it becomes a new norm that you want to make change.
Yeah.
So you start the first few times.
I don't know if you have any comments about that whole experience of.
Oh yeah, I'm the kind of person that runs towards change.
Okay.
I really love change. Not changing jobs all the time, but I get excited about it, and I'll change just simple things like changing the furniture around in your house, and I just really like change. And so I think the reason for that is just seeing it as a new opportunity, and what are the things that you can grow and learn from, and having a growth mindset around change, whether it's voluntary or involuntary. I think that's key to kind of embracing change.
Well, that's great because you work in the tech industry, so I'm sure change is constant for you.
It is, yeah.
Also really exciting. So talking a little bit more about, voluntary change. So what are some of those resilient strategies? Like how dealing with this stuff is very difficult. I remember for me, at least, it was very difficult to make this change. I feel like it was actually a 2-year process before I finally was like, okay, I'm going to go external. What are some of those comments about resiliency?
And I want to just kick off. Interesting that you said right away, I like change. So interesting. We don't have a necessarily known personality variable that talks about this, but there is one that's close, and it's called openness to experience.
Okay.
So it's a measure that we can do to really understand. Some of us it's like risk aversion versus risk seeking. Some of us actually love the feeling of let's go get it, let's go do something, and others sort of it's a pullback.
Yeah.
So I think a good thing to think about from a resilience standpoint, again, back to that self-awareness. What's my natural inclination? If you call it a natural inclination, could be just habitual, that you have pulled back and have avoided conflict or avoided difficult situations. But know your state that you start from. And have you known that your whole life? So can you think of yourself as being that openness to experience since you were little?
Oh yes.
So isn't that interesting?
Yes. I think it's just there's the excitement, and I think in order to be confident with change, you need to be confident that you are in control of certain aspects. And so when you think about building your resiliency and how do you get more comfortable with change, it's knowing what you have control of, knowing how you can impact and influence what's happening to you, and feeling confident in that, and just having faith that things will work out, and that you're capable of navigating this, and there's going to be great experiences as part of it, and you're going to learn a lot from it.
I like that. And there's a line of research that talks about the pattern of thirds when we walk through and there's resistance, and whether it's personal or professional, walk into it knowing a third of it will be with me and I'll get through it. A third will be against me, whatever that is, whether it's people or whether it's resources or whether it's the situation. And a third of it will be just sort of fence sitting. How do I maneuver this? But to your point, to be able to walk into a situation and know there's going to be things against, pro, do your homework and get ready for it. So I would say from a resiliency or hardiness standpoint, it really would be know your facts, slow down to speed up, know your foundation of the house, where are you starting from, what are the risk factors, make it scientific.
And I think she really touched on something that I do as someone who I guess would be more, risk averse and, afraid of change. Reframing change as something that's positive. So reframing change as an opportunity, you know, an opportunity to learn more about yourself, an opportunity to develop your skills, even if the change seems unwanted or involuntary, right? And I think also what's important is to remember to stay grounded in the resources and supports that are familiar to you, that are more constant in your life in order to help you cope with that.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. Like, don't, you know, it's great when you don't have to upset too many different factors of your life at once, because then you can have some stability around you. And I also, this is a small thing, but I love like that Bob Marley song. I think it's Bob Marley, the three little birds. Everything's going to be all right. And I just think about that, you know, like everything will be all right. And I mentioned this before in a previous episode. The tech industry has helped so much because there is no true failure. So it's just it's another learning opportunity. It's not like
experiments.
It's not the right or wrong job move or whatever the change is, but it's a learning opportunity to figure it out.
Except the human, it's interesting to look at it as an opportunity. The human naturally looks at change as a loss.
Interesting.
Right away they think if there's going to be, there's a change, what am I losing? So I like that. Convert the brain to say loss to opportunity, loss to potential gain. What could be great about this?
Because what are those consequences to not changing, right? Like loss to opportunity, definitely. Anything else? Any other thoughts about loss?
I took a course once. I worked for an organization that was going through a lot of change, and as a leader, I was, you know, the leaders needed to help the team navigate that change. And one of the things that they shared with us that has really stuck with me for myself when I go through change, if I am resisting it, because there are times when I do resist change, is that there's 3 ways that people react to change. It's the people who adapt and thrive, and they're your stars. They're people who are going to do well. The people who decide they're not on board, they're going to quit, and that's fine. They're going to leave, and that's another way. So you can decide whether you're going to be part of this or you're going to leave. The worst for the person and for the organization are the people who quit and stay. It creates a toxicity with yourself. It impedes the ability for the organization to move forward. It creates a toxic environment. And so how do you identify if you're in a quit and stay mode, whether it's in a relationship or in your career or for the change that's happening? And so trying to be mindful of that, that's always stuck with me.
Yeah, and you're not doing anybody any favors. You're just showing up, but you're checked out. And
least of all yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think you know when you're in that. It's whether or not you have the guts or the courage to do something about it. But I think you know when you're just walking.
You make the change.
Absolutely.
So do you think this is like a skill people can improve on?
Yes.
Change resilience, change engaging.
How? Is it just repetitive going through change, reassuring yourself that
making
you can
change,
manage it?
making change your new normal? Look at the work on digital disruption and disruption in the workplace, and hiring people that are going to. Harvard Business Review article on hire people who are deliberately going to shake up the cholesterol in the corporate veins. So that creativity, innovation, squashing the status quo. Just do it. Just do it as hard as it is, and don't think we're not all walking through it with fear. We have fear, but just walk through it. It's easier said than done.
Yeah, and organizational change is different too, because I think at work I'm definitely very change pro, and I love shaking things up and trying new ideas. But
personally,
you know, and with your job too, that's your income. Like, there's a lot more factors that hit you personally. That it's all context. But anyways, any myths about change?
Any myths about change?
Sort of interesting question, because like sometimes you think I'm going to make this change and it's going to be so magical and everything in my life is going to get better, and I think like just my piece of advice is it takes time to get to that desired state.
And it's again there's a difference between intended change and emergent change. So you intend to go somewhere, you intend for that change to be in that direction, but as life goes on, there's emergent things that come in. It's like tacking and jibing in a boat.
Right.
It's maybe I need to re-steer the course or make adjustments. So I like what you just said. Not all is great and better, but it's just the next point from which you do current state, desired state.
All right, we've got a couple of minutes. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, like, it doesn't have to be massive change. You can just make
incremental
little changes.
Incremental.
Yeah. Even when you think about getting into fitness, and you don't have to
Baby steps.
run a marathon right away. You can just go to the gym once a week and then twice a week.
No, you're absolutely right.
Baby steps.
There's a great book called Atomic Habits, and it's talking about the 1% change, and if you do that compounded over time, you're actually making significant changes, but you don't have to tell yourself, I need to make this massive change, that you're likely going to be the 80% that doesn't follow through.
Absolutely. And there's another thing when you said that, there's a lot of work on the use of the word now, flow. that I'm now in flow. So in order to find flow, which is that feeling we all have personally and or professionally, when we're with someone or doing something where we go, this feels right. So in change and change embracing and change management steps, it's about maneuvering and trying to find the flow. And that takes time. It's not an instant. It's not an instant operation.
All right, if you had to go back to one of these challenging times of change in your life, what advice would you give yourself? We've got about a minute left.
Just go with it.
Just go with it,
It's going to be okay. You got this.
I think just be easier on myself, trust myself, know that I've been through so many changes in my life that I do have skills in how to navigate that change, that I have built that support group of, support network around myself to help me through those changes, and know that, whether it's a voluntary or involuntary change, if I'm unhappy with the outcome, I do have the power to pursue another voluntary change,
Yes,
right?
yeah, that's a great point.
I definitely would have used the slow down to speed up. If I'm thinking of mine, it was I didn't have the ducks lined up as best as I could have, didn't do enough research. Slow down to speed up. Take your time.
I mean, I can definitely relate to that one. I feel like I'm always in a rush to make
gotta
change.
get there. Gotta get there. Well, be sure where.
And I wish I could take it easy, especially when I was looking for a new job. Two things. One, don't rush it. Certain things need to line it up into place. But the other piece is look around for what will change that you won't have anymore. What am I experiencing in this job that I'll have to say goodbye to that are really great things, so that you're also still being present and appreciate of your opportunity. Anyways, great conversation. We'll have to do it again sometime. Thank you so much for being here with me, ladies.
Wonderful.
Appreciate it. Yes, great topic.